411 Live.
Where you can learn about issues that impact us every day. State of world, 411 Live.
Real people, real talk.
Made to help people in our community in every way. For your girl, 411 Live.
People my age have a tendency to think about the good old days when they were children, the childhood days, playing outside, whether it's jump rope, tag, dodgeball, kickball, running the neighborhood kids in races. All that was so much fun. But we look at kids now, the young kids, and we think they are so much less active. Now, there probably are reasons for that. Back in my day, it was safer for kids to play outside unsupervised. But is that an excuse for inactivity? Hello, I'm Beverly Taylor, and this is the 411 Live. Real people, real talk. Today, my guest is very special. I'm so excited to have her join me, and that is Nia Obotette, and she's the author of an award-winning book, I Am a Triathlete. Welcome, Nia.
Hello, Beverly. Thanks for having me.
Oh, my gosh. It's my pleasure. My pleasure. First of all, I have to tell you that Nia is the one who got me back on my bicycle, biking with a lot of ladies in their late 20s, in their 60s. We have a good time, but we'll talk more about that a little bit later. First of all, I want to start by talking about this book because I love it. I absolutely love it. I love, how it's written, the phrasing. I love the illustration, which is fabulous. I love the story. It's about a young black girl who decides that she wants to compete in a triathlon. She has to train for it, doing activities that she hasn't done before, facing some obstacles. She's an overcomer. I just like it. There's so many themes within this book,
yes, it is.
So many things that people can take away, young and old,
Yes.
So I want to know the backstory. What got you to this place where you wrote a book?
Yeah. Well, it's interesting enough. I am a triathlete. Mm-hmm. So I've been a triathlete now for about 8 years, going on my 9th season.
Good for you.
So that means I swim, bike, and run it. And when I went to look for a book to encourage my niece, I couldn't find one. And you would think, okay, most people, they'll look and, they'll just try to find something else. But in my search for the book, I came across statistics for children of color, books that have characters of children of color. And how it moved me, to see that there was really a lack of books that show characters that are African American. And the fact that I was looking for a book for my niece just kind of propelled me to do something. Yeah. And being a triathlete, I wanted to have something that could encourage her and others in my circle.
Right.
And so that's really what propelled me to start writing it and then looking for illustrations, right? So just Googling, a triathlete or triathlon, it's a lacking of just illustrations, of pictures of us swimming, biking, and running. And so this was my way to get out there and let people know there are people who look like me, that look like my niece, or the younger Nia who would want to be encouraged by this book, to say that you can do it, and there are people out there doing it. So I wanted to have a way that I can encourage my niece. I could reach back to ladies that I know who are triathletes and, share this encouraging story with them, and also make an impact, as small as it may be, on the statistics for people of color writing books about people of color.
I was looking, searching the internet, and I saw something where within children's books, with the protagonist, the main character being African American, For those books, it was less than 12%.
Oh, it's horrible. One of the statistics that actually came out of Wisconsin, I think it was in 2018, don't quote me on it, but basically it showed that if you put all of the minority groups together, that includes Asian, African Americans, if you put Hispanic, all of them together, the group of other would have more representation than all of those minorities combined. Just pause and think about that. That means books with bears and frogs and ghosts and all everything that falls under other, not African American, have more books out there than those that look like us. And if you look at the statistic, even the statistic that you saw, it's even smaller when you look at authors of color. So yes, you may have books out there that show characters or, the protagonist is a person of color, but that book may not have been written by a person of color. Yeah. So even that statistic is even smaller. So that really propelled me. What year are we in that we don't have books that show a young girl swimming, biking, and running? What's going on? I kind of felt like I was in the Twilight Zone. Google has the most, and when you reach the end of Google and you can't find it, I don't know. That's a motivation that maybe there's something out there for you to put out there.
Wow. Now, you said you have been a triathlete for maybe 8 years. What got you into this?
So I started with a run group called Black Girls Run in Milwaukee, and it was really a way to just keep moving, right? Be active. I was always I'm a bit of a nerd, but I definitely have been a person who likes to get outdoors and get moving. And so I'd been skiing already and doing all of that. And so how do I stay fit in the off season of skiing? And running was a good choice and opportunity for that. And so, when I started my first, getting into running, it was, I couldn't just stop at a 5K. So, it was like, oh, I did a 5K today. Maybe I could do a little bit more. Let me do a little more. I could do a marathon, maybe. And so as you kind of progress through, seeing what your limits are, there were other opportunities to meet ladies who are active and being fit and going through that journey themselves. And I came across another group called Black Girls Do Bike, and they were starting here in Milwaukee. And so I was like, hey, why not? And so through those organizations, you're meeting people who are having a fit lifestyle and finding ways to make it fit in their own everyday lives.
Right.
And so one of the ladies had mentioned that she had done a triathlon, and I was like, I don't know about that, because at the time I was not a strong swimmer. I was not swimming at all. I knew how to float on my back. I did not know how to swim. So it did not look like a possibility for me. But once I get something in my head to try to do and accomplish, usually there's not much that can stop me.
That is good. And you were talking about Black Girls Do Bike, because I met you we were talking at an event. We were both being honored, as a matter of fact. And you mentioned that Black Girls Do Bike. And I had bought a bike a couple of years ago, and, my husband and I would bike a little bit, but then he got a motorcycle, and he was, all into that. And it's like, I don't have anybody to bike with. Yes. And so I took you up on an event, and I loved it. And it's so fun to be with all of the ladies. I mean, we're biking and we're doing that, but then afterwards we get together and we can talk and just have a good time. And it's awesome.
It is awesome. It is definitely awesome. I want to tell ladies all the time, there are pockets of areas that if you have an interest in, go out there and find your tribe.
Right.
And they are out there. And so more so than ever, and especially with the, people talk about the internet and so forth, but with the internet, there's an opportunity for you to find your tribe or create your tribe. Because if there's something that you're interested in, believe it or not, there are others that are out there interested in too. And so even Black Girls Do Bike project was started by a young lady, Monica, who was just like, hey, picking up my bike and not wanting to see more ladies of color out there. And what's surprising about the group is it's very inclusive. And even though both groups are Black girls do bike or Black girls run, it's inclusive of all colors, but particularly focusing on women. We do have events that we may include, our husbands, our fathers, or et cetera, but really just giving an opportunity for ladies to get together, let your hair down, all shapes, sizes, backgrounds, professions. And just, really coming together, being active, and then, getting a bite to eat and laughing it up on the times and exchanging notes about, that's the
about
hard
everything.
part. About everything. You find yourself on Amazon buying all kinds of stuff you didn't think that you thought you did need but need. So
Yeah. So going back to the book, what are some of the things that you want the reader to take away?
Well, there were, like you mentioned before, there are a lot of themes in this book, right? And yes, it's about a young girl swimming, biking, and running. But at the end of the story, there's something even more important. That's really the concept that I wanted to drive home with people, is that everyone has a journey, and it's your opportunity to write your own story. And people don't get, that is my secret message in the end, really. And so, it's about encouraging people. It's about showing these illustrations that I didn't see out there that I wanted to share. But in the end, it's really about a young girl who sits down and starts to write her own swim, bike, run story. But it's like encouraging people to do that, because that's what's needed. So, it's turning around the fact that hey, these are the statistics. There are going to be people that look like me reading this book. And if at the end of the day, if I can encourage them to write their own story, we can change that statistic.
That's great. That is great. Now, you got an award for this. Tell me about that.
Oh, several, it seems. So the starting of last year, I won my first award. And that one was, about the Indies Book Award. So really, I self-published this book. What that means is I didn't have a big publishing company behind me. I didn't have, all those, all those other, clearinghouses to help you market it and do all of those things. It was me putting this idea and out there to the world. And so being recognized for that, it's very humbling. It's definitely very humbling. The most recent award, I think that really hit home to me was the Outspoken Award from the women that do triathlons.
Okay.
So here it is, the sport that I've been trying to target, an organization, Outspoken, that gives awards to those who are making waves in that sport, and giving me the award for Media of the Year.
Nice.
I mean, that was heartfelt.
That's affirmation.
That was, oh my, that was, I still get teary-eyed on this journey, because when you create something and have people embrace it the way that they have, it really brings joy to my heart. But it also, brings tears to my eyes, because it is affirmation that something that you've created, that you've put out to the world, people are enjoying it. They're being encouraged by it. They're being motivated by it. And it's changing. It's doing what you set it out there for it to do. It's making a difference.
Yeah. And they're hungry for more.
That
is great. So we are about to take a break. Are we close to our break time? But there are a few things that I want you to talk about, too. You said you're self-published. That takes a lot of work.
Yes.
And for people who are thinking about writing a book, looking at options and that kind of thing, want to explore that a little bit of what you did for funding and that kind of thing, because I think that the way you did it is it's like a lesson in itself, and that could help a lot of people. And I want to talk about your future endeavors, what you're working on now, because this is book 1.
Yes.
And there are others to come.
Yes.
So we want to kind of preview those and talk about those a little bit too. You're on a journey and you're trying to influence our young people. And that's admirable. You know what I mean? And I think that in doing that, I mean, older people like to read children's books too. So they can get a lot out of it as well. Yes. And then in one of the books that will be coming, kind of targets that older group specifically.
Yes.
And I like that too. So we have plenty to talk about, and a little bit more about, some people are going, Black girls do bike. What is that? Black girls run. So we can talk a little bit more about that as well. So, like I said, we have a lot to cover. So we're going to take a break. We're going to come back, and you won't want to miss this. Stay with us.
A lot of people say when you're going somewhere, you don't want to look back. But I beg to differ. For her to see her father celebrate his graduation, it's the best feeling in the world. I can't lie and say it was easy. But sometimes you just have to stop everything and take it in. I looked at everything in a different light. And I realized it started with me going back and getting my high school diploma.
Hey, Bobo, do trees tell each other stories?
I'm sorry. I'm afraid I don't know that.
Hey, why don't we go find out? Listen.
Do clouds take naps?
I couldn't tell you.
Dad, do stars visit their friends?
Look!
Welcome back to the 411 Live. My guest, Nia Obotette, and she is the award-winning author. First book, I Am a Triathlete, is out right now that you can get. And there's so much more to come. But talking about this book, where we left off, and you're self-published.
Yes.
You mentioned that. The book is beautiful. I mean, just the illustrations, the wording, the journey you take us through with this young athlete is wonderful. So how did you get it out there?
Yeah.
You took a unique path.
I did. I did. One thing I want to say about being self-published, it is a lot easier than it has been in the past.
Okay.
Meaning that maybe not from a children's book standpoint, because a children's book takes some illustration, right? You need an illustrator. But if you were writing your own story that needed a cover page with illustrations, you can really literally get it written, find your editor and an illustrator at minimal cost, and literally upload it on Amazon and sell it tomorrow. It is really that simple. You do not have to go to a major publisher to have your own book and content out in the world. Now, you definitely want to find, like me, I'm not the best speller. My grammar is not that perfect. So finding a really good editor was important. And then searching out there when it comes to children's book, I wanted to find an illustrator that could show African-American character looking and doing the things that I was interested in, and not being some stick character, right?
Yeah.
Just having this rich, robust character. So it was important for me, and that was difficult. Finding an illustrator, finding someone who's available, finding someone who's affordable. So that can be very challenging, yes, when it comes to it, but it can be done. So doing a children's book, yes, can be a little bit more challenging, but writing your own novel or fiction, a lot easier than it has been in the past. So I will definitely encourage people who has that in their spirit to get it done, do it today. Do not hesitate. To go.
Right.
Now, when it comes to being self-published, and when I did this children's book, I really wanted to find out if this topic was something that people would be interested in. And so there's costs that I wanted cost me to put it together, the cost to purchase the books, there are those different costs. So I decided to do a Kickstarter. And Kickstarter is a way to crowdsource a project. And so my thought was, put it out there. It's kind of my proof of concept to see if people were interested in the content. And how Kickstarter works is that you put an amount out there that is your goal. You have to meet that goal for you to get the funds. If you don't meet the goal, then you don't get any of the funds. So if you make the goal of $3,000, you come in short at $2,000.
You get nothing.
You get nothing.
Okay.
And so really it's a pledge-based system. So you're finding people that pledge that they're going to help you meet your goal. And as you meet as people are making their pledges, you see that it's increasing. So this has been phenomenal. When I did this Kickstarter, my goal I was like $5,000. And we were able to raise 16.
Oh, wow.
And that was humbling and ultra amazing because literally within 24 hours, I'd already made the goal. And that was that. And I didn't even market. When I say that, there were some marketing aspects, but it wasn't a hard push for me. I reached back out to Black Triathletes, the association, if you can find them on Facebook, very welcoming community. And when I had reached out to the owner and started there and said, hey, I'm making this book. And he was like, I don't think there's anything else like there out there. And I'm like, I don't think so either. And as soon as it hit, I had the support of Black triathletes. And although Black girls do run and Black girls do bike, they don't, they have always been a place where you can't promote your own stuff. Their owners have been tremendously supportive of my journey. I know them both. And so it's been exciting to see the rise of the community that I've known and been a part of supporting this effort.
Oh, wow.
And so this book, I Am a Triathlete, in 2020 became the most backed and most funded triathlon children's book in Kickstarter history.
Nice.
So if you go out there, you're not going to find a triathlon children's book. And I have to be clear about that because there are other children's books that definitely were off the charts when it comes to funding and backing. But this one pretty much made history in that capacity.
But you made your goal in 24 hours.
In 24 hours, yes.
That's amazing.
That is amazing. Yes.
Oh, my goodness.
Yes.
So you were ready to, okay.
Yes.
Let's go.
Let's go.
I got the money.
I got the money. Let's do it. And so that actually helped me fund the next 2 books and has really got me on this journey of a series. So as I mentioned before, I'm also a skier. And so I've been a skier longer than I've been a triathlete, actually, longer than I've been a runner. And so the fun part is creating this series of books with characters that look like me, speaking to the young girl that I was, and also to an audience out there that has not seen illustrations, have not seen or heard this story told before in this capacity. So I'm so excited about new content.
Right. Let's talk about the skiing one.
Oh my goodness. So, one of the aspects about my ski book, which I'm so tremendously excited about, that should come out, not first quarter, maybe second quarter. That's what I'm hoping. I'll probably start previewing the cover here in the first quarter, right up to Winter Olympics, because the Winter Olympics is
Oh, that's
coming
good.
as well.
Good, yeah.
So the storyline is really about a grandmother encouraging her grandkids to ski and snowboard. And the elements of that book is really that I wanted to show that those that are aging, we don't have to slow down.
Yeah.
Like some people in society think that we need to slow down. But if you look, there are people out there, when you are staying active and being active, there's so much that you can do as you age. And so this book, this next children's book, is going to show this kind of feisty grandma who keeps moving and is encouraging her grandkids into a sport of of skiing and snowboarding. And it's also going to highlight in the book an organization that I've been, and you'll see that themed in my triathlon book as well, organizations that have created the safe environments for people of color. So this book particularly is going to show the influence the National Brotherhood of Skiers has had on my life, which will be celebrating 50 years in 2023. And their impact, I mean, they have been an amazing group that started in 73 with, small groups getting together from Chicago and different places and meeting up on the ski hills or Lake Vale or someplace where there weren't people of color that were out there skiing, and then continuing that and gaining momentum by having different organizations in all cities across the United States. And so at one point, these gatherings would be like 14,000 people, of color on ski slopes,
nice.
Just can you imagine that? And that story, like how often do you hear about that?
Yeah.
So the theme of the next skiing and snowboarding book is really centered around, showing that a more seasoned grandmother, exploring that sport.
Very good. Okay, and the other one is about hockey.
Oh yes, the other one. I've always enjoyed hockey, but once again, seeing people of color in the sport, it's important that you see that reflection in sports should reflect our society. In some sports, it's rare that you see someone of color. And so the next book, the hockey book, I'm so excited about that because that one is going to show not only a young hockey girl and her sister exploring the sport of hockey, but African-American referee, African-American organist, and a team of African-American girls doing hockey. Like when you don't see things out there, you got to create it. So if it doesn't exist today, the fact that these illustrations will inspire,
right.
Maybe an all Black girls hockey team or a more Black female hockey referees or Black organists to play at the games, I'm there for it. So I want to encourage that, and my books will reflect that.
Okay. So if somebody wants to get a copy of your book, what do they need to do?
Really easy. Right now, the I Am a Triathlete is out there now. You can go to my webpage, www.niatheauthor.com, to purchase I Am a Triathlete. You can also find, believe it or not, I Am Triathlete was picked up by Target.com, Walmart.com, BarnesandNoble.com. Several international bookstores also sell I Am Triathlete, believe it or not. So, and Amazon, definitely you can find it on Amazon. But I would encourage you to go to my website. And then on the next two books, I would encourage you to go to my website, NiaTheAuthor.com, join my newsletter. My website is currently being redeveloped so I can start the series and reflect the series on the website. And so being a part of my newsletter will get you that information.
Very good. Very good. Now, we've also thrown up, so the website again, NiaTheAuthor.com.
Yes.
Okay, so that's where you need to go for that. Then we've thrown out a couple of other Black Girls Do Bike.
Yes.
You can Google that. Black Girls Run.
Yes.
You can Google that. And the skiing organization.
National Brotherhood of Skiers.
National Brotherhood of Skiers. So if you've heard these things and there are activities that you want to explore, Google it, find it, get involved.
Yes.
And all of us will be, fit and trim and,
yes.
Doing our thing and having fun while we're doing
it. Yes.
So, Nia, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate the time.
It's been a pleasure. I have to say, when you walk into a room, you light it up.
Aww.
You have the best smile.
Thank
You're
you.
so positive. You're a pleasure to be around.
Thank you, ma'am. I appreciate it once again.
So my guests, Nia Obotette and NiaTheAuthor.com. Get a copy of these books. Share them with your grandkids, your nieces, your neighborhood kids. Everybody needs to read this. And it's been a pleasure.
Thank you, ma'am. Thanks for having me.
Sure thing. And thank you for joining me for another edition of the 411 Live. Remember, we're a nonprofit organization, so if you feel led, go to our website, the411live.org, and become a sponsor or donate or find out how you can help us out. We'd really appreciate it. Until next time, I'm Beverly Taylor, and this is the 411 Live, Real People, Real Talk. If you would like to check out past episodes, there are many ways. Go to your favorite podcast platform. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram. Like and watch us on Facebook. Watch and subscribe to our YouTube channel. And if you have suggestions for future episodes, go to our website, the411live.org.